Okay, so I was playing around and I made this dry capacitor, which I'll teach you how to make because it's really easy. And this is technically an inductor, though I guess it's like also an electromagnet. Anyway, these are like opposites. Capacitor stores power, what you would call, I guess, dielectrically or electrostatically, similar to a or I guess it is the same idea as a Leyden jar. It's a static, battery, I guess. And then the inductor stores things magnetically. Now, I don't have any like low voltage AC power, so I guess I'm connecting it to DC, which means it functions pretty much like an electromagnet. But if you use AC, I guess it would function as a inductor. And it's just a coil of copper wrapped around iron. Don't mind that the iron's a bit rusty. Anyway, we'll go into how to make those in a minute. What I wanted to show you here, firstly, is what is a capacitor? I was trying to figure that one out for myself. Admittedly, I'll show you some other cool stuff with it, but here is an LED and a capacitor in I guess technically parallel, you would call. And again, capacitor, this is an electrolytic one, which is why it has a see that stripe? It's negative. So and the negative of the light is there, and then the positive is there. Electrolytic capacitors would have polarity because inside of it's got an electrolyte and it's got chemicals. So like it's kind of functioning like a micro battery, I guess, but then ceramic capacitors would be unpolarized. Basically, if you understand galvanic physics with how batteries work, you've got a positive negative, but this, because it doesn't have an electrolyte, is anything's positive or negative. It's whatever you want, because it'll just the electrostatic will just go to one side or another. Anyway, I've also got a battery. It's like a 3.6 volt lithium. These things are powerful, my goodness. And if I connect it quickly, I want you to watch. So I'm gonna disconnect it. See that like delay effect? Connects. See that? Yeah, let me. Don't mind the flashing, that's just bad connection too. Yeah. And actually what happens is that for a little while after, it's actually still like on. And if I disconnect it, it kind of turns, I don't know, it seems to store a little bit of power. So what it's doing is it's like storing power that the battery is using, and it's like quickly dissipating it. Now, this capacitor is a now the way you read these or you understand these things, I think, is that it's 16 volts, which means you don't want to exceed 16 volts or you'll like blow. It'll be too much, like, I guess, pressure and heat and all that inside, and it'll cause it to blow. And then it's 470 microfarads that U is a micro and the F is farads, which is like a measurement of, I guess, electrostatic amount or something like that, right? This one, I don't know how many microfarads it has. This has less capacitance than this tiny little thing, impressively. I'm sure because they use special materials in this, and they probably have rolled it up a lot more. I don't really know, because it doesn't cause as much delay effect in this. Assuming I haven't just like shortchanged myself and this actually doesn't even work. It does work for a certain purpose though, which is what it's what we're gonna do later in the video, which is I'm gonna show you how essentially if you just like connect these up to power, you feel electrostatic or magnetic energy is the best way to put it. It's like negative and positive energy. You can make these things and then you can feel the positive and negative energy. which is really cool. And like the more you raise the voltage or current, because again this relates to current, the power of the magnetic field, and the power of the electrostatic field I guess relates to voltage. The more you raise these things, the more powerful it gets, and the more you feel it. And it produces like magnetic effects. Well, I don't know if I want to use the word medicinal, but therapeutic, you would say, effects in the body. It seemingly, at least in my experience, that's what I found. This being stimulating, this being, you know, very grounding. It's kind of like makes you want to sleep, and it's like relaxing and all that. Anyway, let's get on to how to make. Okay, number one, how do we make this paper capacitor? So we need some tape. We need either a pair of scissors, or I've got one of these, it's like a crimping tool where you can like cut wire jackets off. It's really handy. We need wire, or technically you could just make wire out of foil if you need to. Foil, you know, this is aluminium foil, and I've got baking paper, but I made this one out of regular paper. It's just I'm kind of running out of paper. So number one, we need 3 sheets of paper. So 1, 2, 3, and then we need 2 sheets of foil, which are smaller than the paper. We also need 2 pieces of wire, you can see. So we'll go 2. Then I'll quickly take the jacket off him. Two pieces of wire. Now, what we do is we take 1 piece of paper, which is the base, and we put 1 piece of foil on top. And I need to make this foil smaller. And I'm just going to chop this off, like so. And now what I'm going to do is some tape the top. I should mention here that baking paper doesn't work all that well because it's kind of oily in a way where it's really hard to get tape on it. So I recommend just using regular paper. Tape the bottom. Tape the sides. It's actually kind of hard to tape to baking paper. I didn't know that. And like so, to get it to stick, right? And then we take another piece, put it over, and we do the same thing. Okay, now we have 2 of those. What we do is, for the bottom one, get our piece of wire, as shown, and then we just tape it to the bottom there. Like so. So that we have an electrical connection. Put our other piece on top. Get another piece of wire. And tape it on. Okay. Now, put another piece of paper on top. This one's actually, it's kind of not really large enough. I'm going to have to get it. Now, you can tape all these together if you want, which is fine. Otherwise, I'm just going to roll them because the baking paper is a little bit difficult to work with. And I usually tape, like around here, I'll just go, just keep it in place. Tape. Let's keep rolling. And tape it again. This is the same thing that you would do if you were making a battery, except you would use a porous material. Baking paper might be porous. Paper's porous, and you would have an electrolyte. But you would also use usually 2 dissimilar metals, electrostatically different, galvanically different. And then we just tape the whole thing up, essentially. Like so, one at the top, one at the bottom, and one around the center. So like a nice little art project. There we go. So as far as my knowledge goes, this is a capacitor. A very primitive electrostatic capacitor. We'll use it later. Alright, so here I kind of want to show you some like physics on this stuff to try to explain like how really the capacitor works, at least to my understanding. You take it with a grain of salt. But anyway, so you can think of these two stick-looking things, these two gray kind of blocks, as two plates of metal, the two sheets of metal. You can see one of them is positively charged, the other is negatively charged. And they will be separated by paper or something else, right? By what's called a dielectric separator. And essentially, when you hook this up to a power source, one of these plates becomes positive and one of them becomes negative. Now, if you have studied the Triboelectric series, and I forget if I've made a video on this stuff before. Side note within a side note, I have. It's called More Electrostatic Experiments, Orgone Triboelectrics, where I go over the Triboelectric stuff, the Triboelectric series, and then we make a little generator that you can make yourself. You can see there AC power, and that's technically an electrostatic battery. So that's the Leyden jar. Side note within a side note within a, you probably get the point. I guess you would just call an electrostatic battery a capacitor. But if you look up the Triboelectric series, which is another interesting series, the galvanic series is another one to look up. More or less, if you take paper and it's like you have a piece of paper, you have a piece of foil on top of the piece of paper, and then you tape it, and I don't know if the tape's meant to be related to this or whatever. I think the foil is just an electrode, so it absorbs the energy, but and then you rub that with paper, so like you're rubbing plastic tape with paper, it generates power. So it's kind of like one of the materials is negative and one of them is positive, and one of them is giving its power, and then you get AC power because you're rubbing it back and forth. And then you have the metal electrodes, which is like, you know, how you hook it up to to technology, so to speak, right? So anyway, this is similar. If you look at like Wimshurst generators, or you look at other Van de Graaff, you know, all these things, they relate to, or they're using this electrostatic physics, so to speak, Triboelectric series and such. And I think the capacitor is essentially just these two separated pieces of metal, which one side is being charged and the other is being like negatively charged, so to speak. So when you connect them both, it's like zap. It releases that charge, that it's like a rubber band that just goes boom, you know, so to speak. Oh yeah, here's some other, like, you could think this is like an electrostatic field, these two plates of metal, and there's like a field in the middle. We'll talk about that later. Here's some more pictures. I guess you could see, yeah, this thing is going to, I don't know, either side. More pictures. Battery, you know, again, positive, negative. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's similar. And you can see here this is an electrolytic capacitor, I think. So this paper would be soaked in some kind of electrolyte, and you have the two plates of metal, and you have the separator in the middle, and the anode cathode. And I just wanted to show you because one side will be positive and one is negative in the drawing. Okay, for, I guess, what is technically the electromagnet or the inductor, we need iron, wire. You could probably use tape or hot glue. All we need to do is put it like that, actually strip it first, and then just start wrapping it just like an I don't know, like a motor coil, I guess. This is pretty much the same as what you would call a transformer, except it's got one coil. If we had multiple coils, that'd actually be an interesting thing to test. Just have like that, and then, you know, try some more, and then have another coil. And of course, it's not like the fancy transformers that, you know, this would be like a ghetto transformer, right? But, you know, I mean, technically you could probably just make your own ones if you wanted, out of just some magnetically porous iron. And the reason why they make transformers out of that layered iron is to avoid heating up, because you know, you get the what they call the eddy currents, which I guess is it's kind of like induction heating, induction cooking, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, now that it's wrapped, I just got to hot glue it, so I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so I just kind of glue along the edges like so to keep it stable, and just some under there, just keep it stuck on. And we're nearly done. Now I just have to chop part of it off, and then just this part off, like so. Here we are. So we've finished making them. Let's test them out. Okay, so here we have our DC generator, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook this up, and instantly when I just got to make sure it doesn't short circuit itself. 1 second. There we go. Instantly when I did that, I could now feel energy in my head. I'm going to turn this up a bit to like, yeah, 12, around 12 volts, and if you grab it and hold it, you'll feel energy. Really, it just kind of seems to radiate electrostatic energy, like very small amounts, just kind of passively throughout the room, so you don't really even need to hold it. But I can definitely feel it. I always think that left is positive because it connects more to the heart and the head, and that right is negative. It connects more to the bladder and the lower body, right? This is my other one. That one feels sharper, is the best way to say it. This one feels a bit more duller. It's just not a bad thing. It's you know, it's a nice thing. But anyway, so yeah, it like seems to produce some kind of energy sensation when I use it. Yeah, I know. We make these microelectronic parts, which it's not really so micro, and then the first thing I think to do is to try to feel the energy that comes up. And I know it's a bit strange, but hey, you know, it's pretty fascinating, right? It's pretty interesting. If you put like a crystal in here, that'd be pretty interesting. The same way you can put crystals in like coils and, you know, magnetic like fields and all that kind of stuff, and it has an effect. That'd be very interesting, actually. Get like a wand, make it like a crystal wand, and then, you know, make like one of these capacitors around it. I gotta do that now. Jeez, maybe I'll do that a little bit later. Anyway, it's very stimulating. Basically, it's stimulating. I'm gonna connect them both, see what happens. Parallel. If you don't really understand what I'm talking about, and you're wondering like, why bother making a capacitor and not using it in a circuit? I mean, well, the answer to that question is that you're going to need a lot of foil to make these things actually any good. I mean, you could do it. It's just going to look like a roll of toilet paper made out of paper and foil. Anyway, I recommend go try this yourself. If you don't have a DC generator, hook it up to some batteries, like a 9-volt. You will feel something. I'll tell you that. You will feel something. Assuming you don't already do this stuff or understand this stuff. Look, I don't know. I'm interested in like energy cultivation, all that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. I'm going to connect them in parallel, but I thought just put in a series. Parallel is more like, you know, relating to magnetic and all that kind of stuff. Series is more relating to this thing. I feel very stimulated. It's very nice. It's like you drunk some coffee or something. So yeah, it feels good. Going on, if you understand an orgone generator, at least I haven't read Dr. Reich's books, you know, Wilhelm Reich's books, but from what I've seen from the pictures and all that, the orgone generator is a an electrostatic material, something like metal, and it's basically a positive and negative electrostatic material. Paper acts as like as one thing, and the metal acts as the other thing. So it's like a natural and an unnatural material, so to speak. Paper, I guess you would say natural-ish, because it's like plants, made of plants and all that. Point being is that I'm pretty sure the orgone generators are like electrostatic capacitors, something like that, which then makes me think that you could then make magnetic inductors, like natural magnetic inductors, basically just wrapping coil around metal, or iron, I mean, something like that, and then just stick it in the earth, or stick it around your room or something. I don't really know, something like that, right? But anyway, more or less, this is like an orgone energy device, and I'm just powering it using electricity instead of the regular orgone energy devices would have used atmospheric energy, which is the electrostatic in the air, right? So, and this is producing like a nice sensation. At least that's my hypothesis on the whole thing. Either way, I recommend you try this out and you feel it. Now, let's go on to the inductor. Okay, I've connected it, and you see that it is short circuiting. It's on 2 amps. Is this magnetic? Kind of. If we turn it up to like 3, oh, yep, it is absolutely magnetic. I'll turn up to 5, which is the max, and yep, see that? It's like, doesn't want to, it's not strong, but you can see that, if I connect it to this one, yeah, little, I don't know, I could feel something, whatever. Point being is that it is magnetic, as we can see, right? Very mildly magnetic, but whatever. I have to touch the wires to make sure it's not like burning. It isn't, thankfully, because it's, I guess, low voltage. If I hold this, or even if I just have this going on in the room, I could feel like a grounding, a negative magnetic sensation. And I think you want to kind of learn what these things feel like. Is it good? I don't know, maybe it'll come in handy in the future or something. I don't know. But it's, it's nice. It's therapeutic in a way. It's not stimulating and energizing, and technically it's energizing in a negative way, but it's not like, light and stimulating. It's heavier, and it's like draws things down. It's like kind of like you're trying to sleep or something, right? It's nice in its own way. Turn that down, and I'll connect them both up. Oh geez, yeah, I started to yawn. Turn it up on backs. Okay, it seems to just be stronger to have these both here. Is these like magnetically attracting? I don't know. It's still mildly magnetic. It's just kind of, yeah. That'd be interesting, testing it with AC power. Turn it off. Ugh, okay. Yeah, because it makes you, it makes you tired. It's like, it makes you just kind of tired and not really, it's really dopey, and that kind of that kind of energy, which I probably don't need right now. I'm making a video anyway. That is it. Go test these things out yourself. If you have like a signal generator and oscilloscope, maybe you can have a lot of fun, testing the ripples and such that these can produce, or make better, or whatever it happens to be. And one interesting thing to look into is the LC circuit, which is capacitor connected to inductor, and the reason for that is to oscillate back and forth. and of course, you lose power, but it's like, I don't know, some weird, interesting circuit. Just the way that it works. It's like, so there's interesting stuff, because I thought about the idea that if this is a magnetic storage device, essentially it stores energy in the form of a magnetic field if you're using AC power, and then it pushes energy out, and you have to be careful. You actually need to connect I think a capacitor to it, or is it a diode? Yeah, I think probably capacitor, to stop a voltage spike, or is it a diode? Actually, maybe it's a diode. I don't know. Go look into that if you're going to use inductors, because if you disconnect these things, or something happened or whatever, it like creates a huge voltage spike, because all the magnetic energy is whoosh, and I guess converts into electromagnetic energy. It's not good. Again, this is electrostatic. It's storing energy electrostatically through the metal, essentially the plates of metal, and this is storing it magnetically through. Technically, you don't need a piece of iron, but it makes it a lot better. It's the same with like a transformer, right? It's you'd be using the air as your storage area, but if you put some iron in the middle, it like soaks up the magnetic field. I thought, what if you combine them together? What if you make them like a singular electromagnetic storage device? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Because a battery is a galvanic, it doesn't store electromagnetism. It is a chemical device. A battery, two pieces of metal, usually separated by a salt bridge. It's same with electrolysis. One of them is oxidizing or chemically being affected electrochemically, and then it's reversing it when you charge it. So the other one is being electrochemically affected, and when you use it, the opposite is being electrochemically affected. So it's not storing electricity per se. It's like storing chemicals, so to speak. It's metallic, ceramic, or some kind of crystalline, or something, right? Well, this is storing pure electrostatic and basically pure magnetic. I hypothesize that there is a higher level of, because again, the old world is chemical. Everything's gasoline. Everything's old school plastics. Everything's petrochemicals. Chemicals ruled the world. And now things are becoming electrical. It's like people went from the cigarette to the vaporizer, to the gasoline tool, to now the electric tool. In the past we had chemical batteries, and my idea is that we can go to some kind of solid state electromagnetic storage device, right? I just kind of have to figure out like how exactly would that work. Maybe somehow you layer coils and oil and all that kind of stuff to then create a quick, because here's the thing, it would charge near instant. Battery, the reason a battery takes time to charge is that it has to go through a chemical reaction. It creates a ton of heat. It's hard to compress the energy, quote unquote, so to speak, at the last few areas. And of course, there's a lot of issues with batteries, but capacitors charge like pretty much instantly. Inductors, quote unquote, charge because it's, would you say it's charging? It's kind of like it's kind of like creating a field via the energy. I'm pretty sure they're like instant, or it's the speed of electricity, electromagnetism, I guess. So I looked up what an electrostatic field is, which is very fascinating, which is pretty much just imagine two pieces of foil or metal or some kind of plate, and it's connected to a high voltage source. So one of the positives and the negatives is connected to one of the plates, and then in the middle you've got a high voltage field, and it causes weird effects for fire. You can put an aluminium ball in there and it wobbles. If you look up electrostatic field on YouTube or somewhere else, you'll see videos. Also, it like little pieces of foil will like dance around and do all kinds of crazy things. So I thought, considering this is a capacitor, technically this is an electrostatic. This is like a miniature electrostatic field device, because it's just two plates wrapped, not touching, separated by paper. I thought it'd be really interesting to know what would happen if I connected it to this high voltage generator. So that's what we're going to do. I don't think anything's really going to happen, but I think it will feel interesting. For example, like it'll create an interesting feeling. At least I hope so, but hopefully nothing bad happens. So we'll see. Okay, there's I can get a big feeling coming from that. It's just kind of hissing, which shows that there is a ionic field. Turning it up doesn't really do anything. Oh, just kind of makes the hissing stronger. So it just kind of creates a strong electrostatic kind of feeling to it, I guess you could say. Which is interesting. Like my head, I feel my head's kind of stimulated. My ears are kind of stimulated. It's like they're full of like very positive energy. So I had one last idea, at least for this video, which is I have this nice sodalite crystal, which is very lovely, like a crystal wand, right? And I thought, what if I put paper, foil, that configuration around it, and see what kind of like effects we get from basically just wrapping it in an electrostatic field and then turning it on and seeing what it feels like if it really has a really strong effect. Because usually when you wrap these in a coil of wire, which I guess technically would be an electromagnetic field, you get a interesting effect. Like the crystal seems to give it seems to color it, right? So I'll go do that. Okay, so here it is. Not exactly too pretty, but it should actually, just in case, I will tape the top and the bottom so it doesn't fall out. There we go. Okay, it doesn't exactly look great, but it will work just fine. So let's connect these just to like small voltages and see what happens. I'll see what I feel. Unfortunately, there is no, flashy explosion or light effect or, anything like that. It's something that you feel. Oh, yep. Okay, so I definitely feel it. And it's exceptionally mentally stimulating. This is the best way to put it. I'll put up to like 30. Okay. Yes, it is just very mentally stimulating. So essentially the best way to put it is that this is a electrostatic field, which feeling wise it's just stimulating, and it is mentally stimulating, kind of mentally and around the throat, kind of like the nervous system, I guess you would say, the brain and the nerves. So it's just what I thought, So what I assume is that if you use different kinds of metals, or you put metals in these fields, or you put crystals in these fields, or even if you put wood, or just any kind of object that relates to the archetype of whatever you want, it'll produce that effect, right? Like mind, muscle, grounding, whatever it happens to be, in an electrostatic way. Of course, as I said, I could do the same thing. I could wrap wire around it to produce an electromagnetic field. In fact, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should also wrap wire in. How about we do that in series? That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, I don't really have enough wire, but this should get the job done. Okay, now what we need to do is to tie these together. So the electrostatic, basically the capacitor and the inductor are being connected. Right? So there we go, like so, as you can see. So these two are inductor, these two are capacitor or electromagnet, whatever you want to. Technically, it's functioning as an electromagnet right now. And then we connect them like so. And we turn it on. And okay, interesting. I'm not sure if this is actually, because you can see it's technically we're on short circuit voltage right now. So it would be, yeah, this is heating up. I'm not sure if it's just the electromagnet. It kind of feels like both is the best way I'm going to put it. I could probably hook them up both to batteries, I guess. But I want a lot of... Actually, no, I do have... Hang on, let me test something. Alright, so it turns out I wasn't recording, unfortunately. Here, if I didn't get it, is a battery pack made out of a bunch of batteries. It's like 27 volts, I just counted. They're made out of 1.5 volt alkalines, which is really good to learn. Because, well, the reason why you learn, you can see that's spilled out. Because I overheated it by short-circuiting accidentally. So you got to learn the configuration. It's all in theory, so it's like dun 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 or something like that, right? Anyway, point being is that I want to have the battery on the electrostatic capacitor, and then I want to have the DC generator on the inductor. And yep, I can turn that on, so that's functioning. I can feel that. Currently, I can feel the electrostatic mental effect, and then I turn the DC generator on, and now I can feel the negative effect. So it's like I feel the lower part of my body. I can feel both the upper and the lower part being stimulated, which is really nice, actually. It feels really good. It's very, I don't know if I can use that word, but it's quite, I would say, you know, therapeutic, maybe. It feels good. My lower back is it's not quite as in pain. Anyway, so I guess that works. That's fascinating, yeah. I don't know if it worked before when we connected them both. It seems to have the same feeling. If I instead unplug this, yeah, it's like my head, the blood rushes down from my head. Now, does it rush back up? It does, yes. That's short-circuiting, oops. Yes, it comes back up, so it does seem to work. If I put them in... Yeah, oh, that, I don't know, is that stronger? One second. Okay, the battery is a little stronger, so it's not as strong putting them in together, but it does work. Oh, it's a little hot. Not too hot, but yeah, that's really interesting. So it'd be nice to have like a therapeutic device, which is you could easily make something like this. But the one thing that I want to do is because I want to look into, I'm thinking eventually once I get a little bit of money, I'll build a Rife machine to show you how they work, because all they are is a signal generator, which is like, I think you can get super cheap signal generators like $6 off AliExpress, and then an amplifier. You could probably buy an amplifier for like, again, $10. I can make an amplifier actually. Will it work properly? I don't know. We'll have to make a preamp or an amplifier. I don't know. Point being, I'll turn that off now. That's cool. But point being is that having to, you know, you could hypothetically have like a little chamber, so like a cylinder where you drop kind of like you drop a crystal in the middle, or a piece of metal or something, right? And it's like you change them out, right? It's like a cartridge that you change out, and you would have these, technically this would be like some kind of electromagnetic field, I guess. I don't know, because it's combining both of them together. Is that how it works? Look, all that I can say is that it stimulates the positive and negative. So it's like the lower and the upper body. Actually, I should take this off. Stop getting buzzed off it. Okay. Anyway, you could have that, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. Like, I like the idea of everything being like electronic and just being able to press buttons and stuff. So the Rife machine, it uses the signal generator to generate different frequencies, and also things like square wave, sine wave, all these things, right? Which is kind of what I imagine that the crystal is doing, is that it's probably generating is it actually generating a frequency? I don't know. Like, can I measurably say that it is? I actually don't know. If I just hooked up maybe some antennas and put a oscilloscope next to it, I probably couldn't get a real reading. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe if I electrified it, then I could. Point being, somehow it flavors the energy, the electricity, in a way that it can be controllable and affect different areas, right? So my idea is that if I use the Rife machine, which is just, again, it's just a signal generator going into an amplifier, going into they use coils. So they use electromagnetic coils. The amplifier, of course, is to add power to the circuit. So it's to electrify it. Essentially, you're adding like a battery, because the signal generator is not really strong enough. Of course, it'll have a small effect, but it's not really. You want something with a little bit of juice to it, a little bit of kick to it, which is why the amplifier is a thing. I will make a video on that when I buy the ingredients, I guess. Unless, I don't know if you can make maybe if I can figure out how to make a signal generator off my of something else, like of the parts I have. I don't know, but it'd be easier just to buy one of those cheap ones, so I'll do that. But anyway, then we will have what you would say, a digital frequency device that that stimulates different areas of the body, and you can just like change the frequency, and then we can figure out what different frequencies affect what areas of the body. I imagine it like goes up and down the body as you tune it, and we don't have to use crystals, which are kind of like, I guess technically it wouldn't be analog. Would it? I don't know. Just speaking in like precise terms, I don't know. But the point is, I wouldn't have to make a bunch of these, or I wouldn't have to swap out a bunch. The idea with having a little chamber and then putting a crystal in there, right? We wouldn't have to do that, is the point that I'm trying to make. I have some ideas. Maybe I'll do some experiments with electrostatic high voltage fields. That'd be kind of cool, just to show you like the power of them. Because one really interesting thing is that I think they put seeds in it, and eggs as well, and they would some of them became hermaphroditic, which I guess is probably not a good thing, but some of them went back to their primordial forms, like an earlier evolutionary form, which is really interesting. Because you got to think, electrostatics, like lots of positive energy, which is very ungrounding, it's very spiritual. It's probably not very good ultimately for like reality, like physical material reality and survival. Similarly, if you look at like Ken Wheeler, he's done stuff on seeds and magnetic poles, magnets and seeds. He I forget which pole he used, but there is a specific pole, like a south or north pole, that he used. Again, one of them will be positive and one of them will be negative. So one of them, so to speak, so you can try out different ones. But he's got videos on it where he, I think he shows you how to do it, putting a magnet under a plant seed, right? And the tree grows like more powerfully, grows better. So that's the opposite version. As I said, I'm here, I'm just playing around. I had ideas of electrostatic fields, but you could put seeds and eggs and all these kinds of things in magnetic fields, which is the opposite, which would be more grounding, more stabilizing, more physicalizing. And then positive negative fields or positive negative poles is going to produce different effects, if you get what I mean. And then, as you know, this device, which I think is really nifty, the combination of technically, is this like an LC circuit? Would that be what it's called? Because it just like, it goes from the inductor to the, I mean, if it was AC, it goes from like the capacitor to the inductor, capacitor. It's like circling or something. I don't know. Whatever. Look, it just, who cares about that? The thing that happens is that I can feel a balanced field. I can feel the physical dense stuff, and I can feel the mental, energetic, stimulating stuff. So, because it's got both of them, right? So if you put a seed or an egg or something in there, or, it doesn't even have to be a seed or an egg. I mean, you can just like, you can put, I mean, you could build a giant one of these. I mean, that is what a orgone generator. So the orgone generator, I forget if I mentioned this already on the video. I hope you like all the theory stuff, so I can, it's probably going to get a bit longer. Point being that this is the orgone generator. At least I think so. It's like a capacitor. Again, at least I think so. Now, this isn't a very pretty or very great, orgone generator. The ones that I've made with like fabric, like cotton and coiled wire and such, seem to be better. They just seem to have a better, different effect. But even just holding this, I can kind of feel a effect. Even just holding this, I can feel, it's subtle, but I can feel something, right? And then what happens when you, instead of having two sheets, you have lots of sheets. You have lots of sheets stacked up. Excuse my dry ass hands. I've been fucking mixing concrete like a savage. Like a little paste eating savage. I've just anyway. Point being is that the orgone generator was like layered. It was like a velvet cake, like loads of velvet cake stacked together, full of metal and like wool and all that kind of stuff, right? And maybe it gets to a point where you just like harvesting loads of I guess technically it would be ionic energy from the air, electrostatic from the air, or something from like the stars and from the sun and all that stuff, right? This brings balance. This is positive. My inductor, which I don't remember where I put it. I think I put it in my electronics thing. Just imagine we had that. That's like negative. This is positive. This is in the middle. This is balanced, which is nice. It's nice to have the full spectrum. So if you build a giant, that's what's going on. You build a giant ass room with this thing or one of these or an inductor, depending on what people need, if they need more negative or positive energy, right? And you, again, if you want to power it up, you can hook it up to a battery or hook it up to a power source or something. Or again, same thing with the rife machine, you hook it up to an amplifier and a signal generator, an amplifier, whatever. You're going to create like these really interesting field rooms. And they be fairly therapeutic, quote unquote, for your body. As I said, it doesn't have to be a seed or an egg. It can be you. It can be your pet. It can be your, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure if you look up the effects of strong electric fields, magnetic fields, and electromagnetic fields, you might find some interesting phenomena, like what it can do, what it can affect, maybe it can grow crystals in a weird way, it can grow plants in a weird way, it can grow animals in a weird way, it grows things, or it stops the growth, or it's like I think this is the beginning of physics, that you start to control reality at a fundamental level, is the best way that I can put it. As in, you just cause raw effect or pressure on things. You modulate that pressure to just cause different effects, positive, negative, in between, all kinds of, it's like different colors but of effects on phenomena, and the stronger the electromagnetic, electrical or magnetic or electrostatic field it is, the more stronger the effect could be. You know, who knows? It could be like, you could have weird effects on metal. I mean, you know, inductance melts metal, right? Electrostatic causes like levitation, all these kinds of things. So it's like, these are raw. I'm going a little overboard. I'm sorry if this is too much information, but the point being is that like, this is like the fundamental, it's like playing with the fundamental forces of reality, to summarize, right? You get what I mean? And this is just a tiny little scale version of it. You know, it's just a tiny little, it's a thing you can build yourself from parts from the hardware store, parts from the grocery store, you know, parts from like wherever, right? So, but if you build a whole room or you build a whole lab and you jack the power up to 1,000, who knows what you could do? What crazy things I mean, you wouldn't want to put a person in, you know, if it's that jacked up. But the point being, it's like you do some crazy stuff, maybe, I don't know, transmute stuff, who knows, make a portal, fucking time travel, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's like how you could do some of that stuff. Anyway, you know how to build this yourself. Go build it yourself. If you don't have a DC generator like I do, you can buy one online they got really nice ones that go up to like 120 volts now. I kind of want one, but it's like, you know, I don't really, I need to buy other things, I'll put it that way. I need to save my money. Otherwise, you can buy a pack of 1.5 volt batteries and hook it up to this. Or you can, as I have done, again, if they get hot, you've short-circuited them. If they get hot, snip, snip. It's that chopping the connections. I wish I could have showed you how this looks. It looks very interesting. That's if you've got a soldering iron. Otherwise, you could use tape. You could use wire and tape, just tape it all together. But you know, it's really up to you on how you want to do this. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So check the links in the description. I got a website up. Got some cool stuff coming for the website soon when I get the time, can be bothered, which maybe is probably in like a week or two. Otherwise, have a good day or night for me.